afternoon, everybody. Hello again, and thanks for coming around. I know we are backing into a break, so over the next 10 minutes or so, try to do these things up and answer any questions you may have. Once again, my name is Richard Hinton, and I'm the manager of YouthMappers Validation Hub, and I'm with...
Hi, my name is Adele Birkenes. You might know me as the top YouthMappers influencer, but spare time, I also work at the USAID Geo Center with Harry, Brent, and Rory, who are all at this conference, and I'm a geospatial analyst supporting the YouthMappers program.
Awesome. And we're dressed very similarly, so if they confuse, she's one has hair. So today we're just going to talk about how YouthMappers Validation Hub in particular help YouthMappers sort of not only build maps, but also build mappers, and which is obviously very, very important. A quick show of hands. If I was to ask you directly to give me a quick 10-second, 20-second elevator pitch on what YouthMappers is, who could actually do that? I'm not gonna pick on you. I'm not gonna pick on you, Jennings. I know a few of you can. Okay. I just got it because there's been a lot of YouthMappers presentations today, and everyone sort of touched on the ones I've seen touched on a little bit of what we are. So I didn't know how much background I should give. So I'll just give a little bit of that, so it's not, no one gets YouthMapper fatigue. So YouthMappers is a network of university-based chapters. We're located all around the world. We started with 3 humble chapters at George Washington University, where I have my day job, West Virginia University, and Texas Tech. And then that was in 2014. And then now we have exploded all over the globe in the best way possible, not like COVID, but in the best way possible. Now we have 371 universities in our network in 72 different countries. So we do have a lot of people in our network, and we sort of continue to grow with generous funding from USAID. So when we first set up YouthMappers, we had a sort of a multi-pronged approach of how we want to develop these new sort of geospatial leaders in our communities. And I'm going to focus on, of course, the YouthMappers Validation Hub, but we weren't the first thing that came out. First thing we were doing, we were building these leadership and research fellowships, where we were sort of talking to the community leaders, the leaders within the actual chapters themselves, and sort of building that local capacity. But as the years went on with more funding, we also created other programs. I only have some of them here. We have Everywhere She Maps. We have a whole YouthMappers Ambassador program, which are located all over the world that are helping us develop our sort of mission statement and develop different chapters. And if you saw Rory and Brent's talk yesterday, they have various initiatives in Malawi and in Tanzania. So we have, this is like just an example of some of the things we do, but we're trying to incorporate YouthMappers in the geospatial work wherever we can, and so to give them the best experience possible and really sort of grow that local capacity. But as I mentioned, today's focus is more on the Validation Hub and what we've been trying to do. So the Validation Hub, I'm very lucky to be working with them, and a great bunch of students through that. And we came online in 2019. So we got some more funding because validation is a very important part of any sort of data process. And that was sort of a missing piece, but a piece we hadn't had an opportunity to develop yet for our own network. Okay. So in 2019, we were able to do that because with any data source, as you well know, if you want to use this data, if you want to keep it current, it means you want to be usable, rather, it needs to be current, it needs to be accurate, right? And so in OSM, the way we do that is people contribute, then you need this sort of mature, experienced mapper to go through and actually review those edits, make sure they're accurately created, accurately tagged, and whatnot. Because if it's accurate data, then we can actually use it. So being YouthMappers in such a large network, as you saw, 72 countries, 371 chapters, as mappers, we're generating a lot of data, right? So that's why we developed the YouthMappers Validation Hub, because we're here to help make the data better, right? And make the map better, so that we can actually give some sort of assurance to the OSM community that, yes, we can actually, people can trust these data as best as we can. Are we perfect? Certainly not. But we do have this mechanism in place that as projects are created through our network, we have a mechanism in place where we will then validate those data as we sort of work through. And we're sort of refining that process over the last few years. The first few years when we were actually set up, we had a backlog of projects to work through. So we're sort of slogging through these old projects. And so we've been working diligently with the folks at Geo Center to sort of fine tune this, this sort of workflow and really sort of make it better and more efficient. Just before I hand it over to Adele, a couple of slides on sort of some of the things we've done since we started. We worked on a total number, a lot of projects through our chapters. We have 193 different projects. We have YouthMappers. At any one time with the Validation Hub, we have 4 or 5 or 6 students working on this. So since we started in 2019, we've had a total, counting the ones working with us today, a total of 33. The unfortunate thing for us is that we train these students to become excellent youth mappers and validators, and then they go and graduate on me. Then I have to find more people, right? So they graduate, they leave, that's awesome, but then I'm left constant, well, it's job security, I guess, because they keep leaving me, so I have to keep training more.
I won't leave you.
Oh. Maybe I need to get out of it. Through this time, we've had an opportunity to work through a lot of different projects, and our mappers, especially with the older projects, sometimes we've had to have our validators actually just working, contributing to the actual maps themselves, and then of course validating. So that's why we see a lot of tasks that we finished, over 1,000 tasks that we've had to finish, and then over 8,000 tasks validated across all of various projects. One of the other things that we like to do as part of our role as YouthMappers Validation Hub is actually train other youth mappers. And in fact, anybody else who wishes to come to our trainings, we'll teach you how to use JOSM, and we'll show you the validation workflow. We didn't invent these tools or these processes, but we want to make sure our network is aware and has a mechanism and has a place to go to learn this stuff. But it's open to really anybody that's interested in learning. So because I deal with students, our trainings are set up on a sort of semester base. So in the spring and fall semester and hopefully over summer, we'll set up some trainings. So we've hosted several sort of introduction to JOSM trainings. And then what we like to do is maybe a month later, host a validation training. The idea is that once you get introduced to JOSM, you'll start using that to contribute to OSM. You get your sort of skills up and chain sets up. So then when we do the validation training later, you have the skill set to take on this workflow, because all the validation work is done using JOSM. And actually just recently, we added a second JOSM training, one called Advanced JOSM. So we did just this past spring, we did a intro JOSM training. A month later, we did an advanced JOSM training. The idea again, let's bring those guys to the next one so they can up their skills some more, have another month to work on that, and then we did the validation training. So today, yeah, we've done 7 of the intro, 1 advanced, and then 6 validation trainings. This QR code, if you like to scan it, we'll send you to or bring you a document that we've put together for JOSM training materials and validation training materials. There's a lot of material out there from missing maps, from Hodge, and we've got some stuff as well. So we try to sort of consolidate this stuff into one place, because it does seem to be, everyone has a sort of a flavor of it, and it's all good material. But I figure we try to consolidate a little bit of this. So if you could hit on that QR code, you'll be able to get access to that resource. And we're going to try and keep that current. One of the things we did do is, if you want we have 2 of our documents actually that are in Spanish as well. So it's English and Spanish. So translating some of the stuff in different languages is one of the sort of projects we're taking on to try to reach as large an audience as possible. So now I'm going to step back and let's give it up for the influencer. Yeah, come on.
Hi, everyone. So as you heard from Richard, the Validation Hub has now been around for a few years, providing awesome data quality support to the YouthMappers network. And on the USAID side, Rory Nealon, who's in the back, and I provide a lot of technical support to the YouthMappers network. And a lot of that looks like actually creating remote mapping projects for YouthMappers chapters that request that support from us. So in some cases, students at the chapters or regional ambassadors are able to create the projects on the Hot Tasking Manager or Teach OSM, but in many cases, students actually request our support from the Geo Center to create those remote mapping projects. And so we have a YouthMappers online form that chapters fill out to submit their project creation requests. This includes submitting a GIS file for their area of interest, a description of what they wish to map, and other related information that then helps us set up the projects on the hot tasking manager or Teach OSM. And so once we do that, we send a draft of the project to the chapter. They give their stamp of approval. We publish it, and the chapter will begin mapping. And Rory and I traditionally would monitor that mapping and provide feedback to the chapter on any data quality issues that we were noticing. And then the final step of that traditional process for a few years was that the Validation Hub would assist with the validation of the projects as needed. So in some cases, the chapters were able to conduct the validation on their own. In other cases, the Validation Hub would support this. But with the Project Mentor pilot that we started this past fall, we've revamped this process in order to involve the Hub students more closely in this whole workflow and give them the experience of engaging with the entire OSM project and data lifecycle, as opposed to just with the validation, the final stage of the projects. So you can see that this diagram is pretty similar, except now after we create the project for the chapter, we assign a student at the Hub to serve as the project mentor. And I want to give a shout out to everyone in the audience who actually participated in this project mentor pilot. So it was really great getting to work with the Hub students over the past year or so on this initiative. So the next step is then that the Hub mentor monitors the mapping using tools such as OSM CHA, which we just heard about earlier, and they share data quality guidance with the chapter as needed in the form of documentation of different errors that they're noticing in the mapping and how to address those errors. And usually that would involve screenshots of actual examples from the projects. And this is really helpful for the chapters to receive. And once they get that documentation, they can then adjust the rest of their mapping during the course of the project to address those data quality issues. And then, of course, the final stage is that the Hub still helps with the validation if needed. And one thing to note is that we do get project creation requests from all over the world. So we've been trying to provide data quality documentation in languages other than English when possible. So we've successfully done that for some of the projects that we've involved in this pilot. And I was just looking at our tracker, and I think we're at about 13 or 14 projects that are at some stage of this life cycle in the past year. So just to recap some of the benefits of this approach that we've seen in the past year, we do feel that this is, like I said, an opportunity for Hub students to really get hands-on experience with the full picture of what it means to be a member of the OpenStreetMap community. And additionally, the YouthMappers chapters themselves around the world received more individualized data quality monitoring and guidance than Rory and I were able to provide by ourselves. And that's a great example of peer-to-peer learning, which is what the YouthMappers network is all about. And then finally, from the USAID side, Rory and I are able to respond to project creation requests more quickly and accommodate more requests over time, just because we have that awesome support from the Hub. So what's next? Well, we are looking to further involve the Hub members in the complete OSM data cycle by creating opportunities for the project mentors at the Hub to help the chapters on the ground document the end use of the data that they're mapping, which I think will help us build our portfolio of different YouthMappers projects that the Hub has supported. And we've been inspired by the Missing Maps template that I think was created in the past year that just kind of creates a really nice infographic that shows, okay, here's the area of interest, here's the purpose of this mapping, and here's the impact. So that may be a direction that will go in the future. And then also, we'd like to offer additional data quality support to chapters in more languages. And I also don't have it on the slide, but I did want to mention that in our new regional ambassador cohort that's getting onboarded, quite a few of them are going to be having a technical focus in the support that they provide to the network. So we'll probably link up with them a little bit and just build out this holistic data quality support to the network. And then another kind of interesting thing that came up was sometimes we would assign project mentors to different projects, and they would be checking on OSM trying to see who's making edits. And then after a month or two, they'd say, well, no one's editing anything. And so we kind of noticed a really big trend of stagnant projects. And so we kind of were joking that in a lot of cases, the hub mentors ended up just nudging the mappers to contribute and didn't actually get that full experience of monitoring the data quality. So that's something we're going to try to develop a more standard approach for. So with that, I just want to say thank you to Richard and the students again. It's been a really great experience working with you on this.
We had a great time working with you as well.
Oh, great. Okay.
It's been awesome.